All right, so ready to dive into this whole FinOps thing?
Let's do it. FinOps, cloud financial management, whatever you want to call it. It's a hot topic for a reason, right?
Absolutely. And you sent us a ton of stuff to dig into, so clearly you're ready to get your hands dirty. Articles, reports, even a couple of videos looks like we've got our work cut out for us.
It's not just about getting our hands dirty, though, is it? It's about making sense of it all and
Yeah.
figuring out how companies are actually taming this beast.
That's what we're here for. And speaking of taming beasts, we got to talk about Aptio. They're kind of a big deal in the FinOps world.
Rightfully so. They've got this whole suite of tools designed to help companies, no matter how big or small, get a grip on their cloud spending.
Which is exactly what everyone's struggling with, right?
Big time. I mean, the cloud is amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's way too easy to spin up a bunch of servers and then get slammed with a bill that makes your eyes water.
Been there. So Aptio comes in with these tools, and they're not just about basic stuff either. They've got solutions for everything from tracking costs to optimizing performance to figuring out unit economics.
It's like they've got a tool for every occasion. And the cool thing is, they're not just blowing smoke. They've got real-world success stories to back it up. Like, check this out. There's this company, Highland. They're a content services company, right? And they managed to slash their cloud costs significantly using Aptio's tool.
Okay, now we're talking. How much are we talking about here?
Yep.
Give me the...
Imagine you're trying to follow a recipe, but the ingredients are listed in cups, teaspoons, grams, and then they throw in a pinch of something. Talk about confusing.
My kind of recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Baking is not my forte.
And that's what it's like, trying to manage cloud costs without good data practices. You've got all this information coming from different cloud providers, different internal systems. It's all over the place.
Okay, so data ingestion is about getting all those ingredients in one place, right? And then normalization is like converting them into a standard unit of measurement so you can actually compare apples to apples.
Precisely. You got it. It's about making sure everyone's speaking the same language, data-wise. And get this, the FinOps Foundation isn't just talking about cloud bills. They're talking about bringing in business data, performance data, even your carbon footprint data.
Now that's thinking big picture.
Exactly. It's about understanding the full impact of your cloud usage. But this also brings up a major challenge: data quality.
Ah, the old garbage in, garbage out dilemma.
Exactly. If the data you're basing your decisions on is inaccurate or out of date, you're setting yourself up for failure. The framework stresses how important it is to stay on top of this. It's an ongoing process.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of deal.
Not even close. You've got to be vigilant about maintaining that data quality if you want to make smart decisions. And that's where a lot of companies are seeing the value of dedicated FinOps teams. Speaking of which, let's talk about Intuit for a sec. The masterminds behind TurboTax and QuickBooks.
They're doing some really interesting stuff in the FinOps space. Like, they've really embraced this whole data-driven approach, right?
Oh, absolutely. And luckily for us, Gina Berg, one of their FinOps gurus, actually spoke at a FinOps Foundation event. She gave us a peek behind the curtain at how they're tackling these challenges.
Now, that's a deep dive I can get behind. What's their secret sauce?
Well, Gina stressed that even with all the fancy tools and solutions out there, sometimes you need to get your hands dirty and build custom stuff in-house, tailored to your specific needs. And that's what Intuit's had to do, especially with how much their cloud footprint has exploded recently.
Makes sense. They've got data coming out of their ears, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. And that's where their data engineering chops really come in. Gina was walking us through their FinOps data pipeline, and let me tell you, it's impressive. They're pulling data from over 100 different sources. Think AWS CUR files, BigQuery exports, you name it, and then they're cleaning it all up, standardizing it, applying their own business rules. It's a well-oiled machine.
It's like they've built their own FinOps factory. What kind of data are we talking about here? Give me the specifics.
Everything but the kitchen sink. You've got your standard stuff like AWS CUR files and BigQuery exports, but then it gets really interesting. They're also pulling in organizational data, business requirements, even stuff from their internal customer care data lake.
Hold on, back up. A data lake. Now, there's a term I haven't heard in a while. We need to unpack that one.
Think of it like this massive reservoir of raw data from every corner of the company. It's a bit like the Wild West of data, but if you know how to navigate it, there's a goldmine of insights waiting to be discovered. And Intuit, they're using it to get even more granular with their cloud cost analysis.
Okay, so they're gathering all this data from every nook and cranny. They're cleaning it up, standardizing it. What happens next? What's the end game here?
The goal is to solve real business problems, ones that are specific to their needs. Like, for example, they're tackling the complexities of Kubernetes, which, let's be real, can be a real headache when it comes to managing costs.
Kubernetes, the container orchestration system?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one still makes my head spin a little.
You and me both. But Intuit, they figured out a way to track those Kubernetes costs with their data pipeline down to the namespace level. They even built an internal tool called Cloud 360 that gives their engineers super detailed breakdowns of their cloud spending and flags areas where they could be saving money.
Okay, now that's impressive. They're not just throwing data at the problem, they're turning it into actionable insights. This Cloud 360 tool sounds like a game changer.
It's seriously cool. And it shows how investing in a solid FinOps data strategy can pay off big time. But it's not just about building fancy tools. It's about cultivating a culture where everyone's on board with making smart decisions about cloud spending.
There it is again, that culture word. It seems like FinOps isn't just about the tech, it's about getting everyone on the same page. Which, let's be honest, can be easier said than done.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like trying to herd cats sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But Intuit seems to be onto something with their approach.
Right.
They're all about holding engineers and their managers accountable for cloud waste.
But not in a punitive way, right? It's more about collaboration and finding solutions together.
Right. It's not about playing the blame game. From what Gina was saying, transparency is key. They've actually created this whole culture of positive reinforcement. So instead of pointing fingers, they focus on the savings opportunities, which gets everyone excited.
Smart. Because nobody wants to feel penalized for experimenting or trying new things. But it's not like they're letting things slide either. They've got those monthly check-ins with the CTO, which keeps everyone focused on reducing waste.
Exactly. And it's clearly working. Even as Intuit's been scaling like crazy, their waste hasn't spiraled out of control. They've actually managed to keep it in check, which is a testament to this proactive approach.
It sounds like they're miles ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So what's next for them? What are they wrestling with these days?
Well, Gina mentioned this big priority they have now, one that's causing a lot of buzz in the FinOps world, shifting left.
Okay, shifting left. Now you're just messing with me, right?
No, it's not a dance move, I promise. It's about weaving those FinOps practices into the early stages of software development. Traditionally, FinOps has been more reactive. You deal with costs after they balloon. Shifting left is about baking cost awareness into the design and development process from the get-go.
So it's like instead of cleaning up the mess after the party, you're helping plan a budget-friendly bash from the start.
Exactly. You want to empower those engineers to make cost-conscious decisions right out of the gate. Intuit's goal is to have their tools flag any potential cost overruns before a single line of code is even written.
Now that's next level. I can only imagine the kind of collaboration that takes between the FinOps team and the engineering team.
It's huge, and it requires a bit of a cultural shift for the engineers, too. They need to have the right tools and knowledge to factor cost into their decisions.
Sounds like a massive undertaking, but with their data infrastructure, they're definitely well positioned to tackle it.
For sure, and it's not just them. That 2024 State of FinOps report we saw, they surveyed hundreds of companies, and guess what? Reducing waste and managing commitments are top priorities across the board.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with how the economy's been. Companies are feeling the pressure to be more efficient with their spending, and cloud costs are no exception.
Exactly. And the report also highlighted the growing importance of things like forecasting, automation, even managing the costs of AI.
Whoa, hold on, AI costs. Okay, we need to add that to our deep dive list for sure. It just goes to show this whole FinOps thing is constantly evolving.
For sure. It's a dynamic space. And as cloud adoption keeps growing, the challenges and the opportunities are only going to get more complex.
Speaking of challenges, I want to circle back to Apptio for a sec. Their article about how FinOps solutions help companies like Highland really highlights the value of a holistic approach.
Totally. They actually break the whole FinOps journey down into 3 phases: inform, optimize, and operate.
Okay, I like where this is going. Walk me through it. What's involved in that inform phase?
It's all about getting clarity. Really understanding your cloud costs inside and out. You want to give everyone from engineers to the finance team the information they need to make smart choices.
No more surprise bills at the end of the month, right? Everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. It's about getting everyone speaking the same language, cost-wise. So that covers everything from basic cost allocation to understanding your cloud program, total cost of ownership, even those unit economics we talked about.
Unit economics. Now we're getting down to brass tacks.
Basically, think of it this way. Unit economics in the cloud is about figuring out the cost of delivering a specific unit of value to your customer. Like, what's the cost of processing a single transaction or serving one user? For a company like Intuit, this is huge. They handle millions of financial transactions, so understanding the unit economics helps them scale efficiently.
Ah, I see. So it's about connecting those cloud costs to real business outcomes.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. So you've got a handle on your cloud costs. You understand how they relate to your business. What's next?
Time for phase 2, optimize. This is where you roll up your sleeves and start fine-tuning everything to squeeze out every bit of efficiency.
Let's talk optimization strategies. Give me the good stuff.
Think of right-sizing recommendations, optimizing those container costs, really maximizing those reserved instances and savings plans. It's about making sure you're getting the absolute most out of those cloud investments.
This definitely sounds like the kind of thing that requires some serious expertise. You need to know the ins and outs of both your cloud environment and your specific business goals.
100%. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Sometimes your cloud provider's tools are enough, but other times you need to bring in third-party solutions or, like Intuit did, build your own custom tools in-house.
And let's not forget about our engineer friends. Sometimes you need them to help implement those optimizations. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say.
Absolutely. Collaboration is key throughout this entire journey. The optimize phase often involves working hand in hand with engineering teams to right-size resources, fine-tune configurations, and implement best practices.
Okay, we've optimized what's left on our FinOps adventure.
The operate phase. This is where you move beyond one-time fixes and start building a sustainable FinOps practice.
So it's about making FinOps part of your company's DNA. It's not a one-off project. It's a way of life.
You got it. This phase is all about continuous improvement, setting up budgets, nailing down your forecasting and workload planning, implementing systems to constantly monitor your spending.
I bet automation plays a huge role in this phase, right? You don't want to be stuck manually tracking all of this stuff forever.
You're telling me. This is where you start automating things like horizontal scaling, so you can handle those peak loads without breaking the bank. You implement more sophisticated forecasting and planning processes, often with built-in approval workflows to ensure everyone's on the same page.
This all sounds incredibly valuable, but let's be real, building out a full-blown FinOps practice like this takes time, resources, expertise. Not every company has Intuit's deep pockets. What about those companies that are just starting their FinOps journey? Where do they even begin?
Well, that's where the FinOps Foundation really shines. They put together this fantastic framework, for managing cloud costs, and it's designed to help all sorts of organizations, big or small, no matter where they are on their FinOps journey.
So you're saying there's hope for us, mere mortals, who don't have a dedicated FinOps team yet?
Absolutely. Their framework lays out these different maturity levels. You start with crawl, then you move up to walk, and eventually you hit run.
I like that analogy. It's like learning to ride a bike, right? You wouldn't hop on and try to race the Tour de France on your first go. You got to start with the basics. So what does crawling look like in the FinOps world? What are we talking about here?
At the crawl stage, it's all about, starting somewhere, right? Dipping your toes in, laying the groundwork. This might mean utilizing those basic cost management tools your cloud provider offers. Everyone's got them. Start tracking your spending diligently. Maybe play around with some basic tagging to categorize your resources. It's about getting a handle on what you're spending and where it's going.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
But hey, those baby steps can make a huge difference, especially if you're just starting to get serious about managing those cloud costs. How do you know when it's time to ditch the training wheels and start walking?
You'll know you're ready to walk when those basic tools just aren't cutting it anymore. Like when you need deeper insights, more granular control. Maybe you start checking out some of those third-party FinOps solutions we mentioned, like Aptio. Or maybe you even start building some custom reporting dashboards to really understand your spending patterns. You're leveling up, but you're not quite ready to assemble a whole FinOps Avengers team just yet.
Right, you're still finding your groove. Okay, so what about that run phase? What does it look like when you've hit your FinOps stride?
When you reach run, you've basically become a FinOps machine. You've got dedicated experts on board, you're using advanced tools, and you're constantly fine-tuning your cloud spend. You're operating at a whole new level. But, and this is key, it's a journey, right? It's all about continuous improvement, constantly adapting to the ever-changing landscape of the cloud.
So having a roadmap, like the one the FinOps Foundation provides, is super valuable. It's like having a GPS for navigating the wild world of cloud costs. And speaking of navigating, I think we've covered a ton of ground today. We dove deep into FinOps, went behind the scenes at Intuit, and even took a crack at the FinOps Foundation's framework.
And we learned that FinOps is about way more than just cutting costs, isn't it? It's about making sure those cloud investments are actually paying off, that they're aligned with your business goals.
It's about creating a culture where everyone in the organization, from those engineers writing the code to the folks signing off on those budgets, is invested in making smart decisions about their cloud spending.
It really is a team effort. And the companies that figure that out, those are the ones that are going to thrive in this cloud-powered world we're living in.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So what does this all mean for you, dear listener? Well, whether you're just starting your FinOps journey or you're already a seasoned pro, remember, there's always more to learn. But here's a little something to chew on. How can you start cultivating that culture of FinOps within your own organization? How do you get everyone excited about optimizing those cloud costs? How do you bake it into your company's DNA?
Now, those are some million-dollar questions. Questions that every organization, no matter how big or small, is going to have to grapple with as they chart their own course in the cloud.
And on that note, we'll leave you with those deep thoughts to ponder. Until next time, happy diving.